Hi everyone, this is Miss Michaela, and in this video I will be reviewing what we did in class on November 30th and December 1st. So we've been talking a lot about Greek mythology and Greek plays, and we talked about in our crash course assignment, which is in classwork in, where did I put it? Literary analysis. So in this assignment here, you were to watch the crash course video and then answer these questions. And then in class, we reviewed the answers and looked at some of these slides here that talked some more about Greek theater. So Greek theater began in big festivals that they had, and the new emperor wanted to unite the people of ancient Greece. And so the way that he did this is that he had these big festivals where you can see people here are celebrating, they're dancing, listening to music, playing music, and just having fun. At these festivals, there were dithyramb competitions where playwrights would present their plays and the people would vote. I think there was 10 citizens that got to vote on the best plays. So they just got to watch a bunch of plays together, celebrate, and have fun. And that's how theater first began. These festivals, the reason that they were happening is they were to celebrate this Greek god Dionysus, and he was the god of wine, as you can see here. And so a lot of people wanted to celebrate him, we talked about in class, because if you were celebrating the god of wine, that meant that you got to drink and have fun and party. So people wanted to celebrate him, and that's why they had these festivals, and they would perform plays at these festivals. We also talked about Thespis, and Thespis was the first actor that we know of. Usually in these ancient Greek plays, there was a chorus, which was a group of people that would sing, and then there was some actors as well. And actors today, a lot of the times, are called thespians because of Thespis. They're named after him. And he suggested that actors wore masks, which is why in this statue there's a guy putting a mask on, because a lot of the times the actors would be playing like 3 different characters. And so the way that they would show the audience that now I'm playing a different character is they would put on a different mask. So you would know which character was who, even if the same actor was playing multiple different characters. And we can thank Thespis for that idea of wearing the masks. We talked about how the first city where these festivals and plays were performed was in Athens, Greece. And this theater here that they performed in is called an amphitheater because it's outside, and these amphitheaters actually fit 14,000 people in them. That's a lot of people. Another reason that the masks were so important is that if you were sitting up here, there's 14,000 people here, and if you were sitting way back here, you could see the masks from down here because they were so large. We also talked about this word catharsis. And if you remember from watching the crash course video, catharsis is the purging or release of emotional tensions, especially through kinds of art or music. So people would watch these plays because they wanted to purge their emotions. And so you would watch a sad play and you would feel sad feelings, and then your sad feelings would be gone and you could move on with your life. So they would have catharsis, which is when you would get rid of those emotions by watching a play. We talked about a few weeks ago modern theater, and we talked about how we like to watch melodramas like Grey's Anatomy and other soap operas, because then we get to feel the emotions that the characters are feeling without actually going through all of the horrible things that they're going through. So this is another way that we try and achieve catharsis today. Also with musicals, that's another thing that we watch because we like to feel attached to the characters and we like to feel the emotions that they're feeling without the things actually happening to us. This question says, what else might you do to purge emotions? We talked about how maybe you want to listen to sad songs or you watch sad movies because you feel like being sad or crying. And so you'll listen to sad music or watch a sad movie. We also talked about this picture here for how art can also provide catharsis. So this guy here is sharpening a pencil. He's got all of this stuff going on in his head, and then he starts to draw on the piece of paper. And then at the end, once he's drawn all of it on the piece of paper, his head feels normal again. So he's purged all of those negative emotions that he was feeling by creating art. And now he can move on again. So that's another way that we achieve catharsis and purge emotional tensions. So that was one of the other big purposes of these plays that were performed in ancient Greece, is people wanted to purge their emotions. Who were the plays about? In ancient Greece, these plays were about the Greek mythology and the Greek gods and goddesses that they all knew about. And so in this picture here, there are some different Greek gods and goddesses that you probably will learn about as you work on your mythology Flipgrid assignment. We also talked about how the purpose of mythology, one of the big things is that it tries to explain the things that people don't understand. So we talked about natural phenomena like tornadoes or fires or storms and how people don't understand those. And so these stories try and explain why they're happening. Another thing is that it could try and explain why humans act the way they do. Maybe it's trying to explain why humans are mean to each other. A lot of myths also try and explain how the world was created. So here's the definition of mythology here: a group of stories that form part of the traditional knowledge of a society. They usually use imaginative plots and characters to explain how the world began and why nature and people behave the way they do. So an example of this is an old Egyptian myth tells why the Nile River floods each year. So these mythology plays have imaginative characters of these gods that explain things that they're doing. A myth also always has a moral or a lesson that you're supposed to learn from watching the story. So the big things to remember with ancient Greek theater is that Greek citizens watched these plays about Greek gods. And the plays were always about mythology. The gods and the goddesses were doing different things. And the reason that people watched this is, well, first they wanted to celebrate Dionysus, who was the Greek god of wine, like I said. And they also wanted to learn a lesson when they watched it and figure out something that they didn't understand. And ancient Greek theater was during the 6th century BCE, and they were performed during the festivals for Dionysus. So I do want to look at the Flipgrid assignment that we have here. Some of you still have not done this yet. And what you need to do is go to this Greek Travel Tellers website and pick a myth here, read it, and answer some questions. So this myth is about Prometheus and the theft of fire. And so the first thing that you do in your Flipgrid is summarize this. So this myth, Zeus gives out all of these gifts to the gods, but Zeus hates the humans. However, Prometheus felt sorry for the humans. So he goes to Olympus, he steals fire, and he gives it to the humans. But Zeus is very, very angry. So he takes Prometheus, he puts him up on this big mountain, and makes sure that he is tortured. He sends an eagle to eat Prometheus's liver every single day. So that's the summary. Here's a picture that describes that. The next thing in this assignment is, what is the moral or lesson? Well, I think the moral of this myth is that you should not steal from people, or you shouldn't give things away that aren't yours to give, because Prometheus did that and then he was punished for it. And then the next question is your myth trying to explain one of these phenomena that humans don't understand? Well, the thing that it's trying to explain here is how we got fire, because he stole fire and gave it to us. So that's what this myth is explaining. All right. After we talked about Greek mythology this week, on December 1st then, we read part of a script, and then we learned 5 new terms about scripts. So the first term was the word script, and that is the written text of a play. The second term was dialogue, which is a conversation between 2 or more people. So an example here, one character says, "Don't talk to me about Lonnie anymore." And another character says, "Why? What's so wrong with Lonnie?" So because they're talking back and forth, this is considered dialogue. Another term was stage directions, and that is a description or explanation about what the setting of a play is and what's going to happen in a scene. Maybe it describes the sets or the costumes. So an example here is this explanation where it says, "This is a short comedic crime skit for 2 actors to play, 1 woman, 1 man. Frisk is a hitman and his girlfriend Helena finds out for the first time." So this in red is stage directions because it's an explanation of the play and what it's kind of going to be about. The next term we learned was cue, and cue is a description of what the tone of the actor should be and what they're doing, their actions. So here in blue, I hired the cue. It says, "Frisk irritated. Don't talk to me about Lonnie anymore." And the reason that we have cues is so that you know what Frisk is feeling and how he's supposed to say his line. And the last term that we learned was scene heading. And scene headings tell us what act and what scene of the play we are going to read. So it'll just say Act 1, Scene 1, or Act 1, Scene 2. That way we just know where we are in the play. So we learned these 5 terms, and one of your assignments for next week is to put the 5 terms and their definitions into your slideshow notebooks. So if you did not take screenshots of the definitions in class, watching this video and taking the screenshots now would be a great idea to do so that you can put the terms into your notebook. The other assignment that I gave you was a label the play assignment. And in this one, I have like an excerpt from a play here. And I wanted you to read the lines from the play and then use these words from the word bank to label the parts of the play. So here we have number 1, Act 1, Scene 1, and then there's a number 1 down here. So I want you to look in this word bank. Is this dialogue, scene heading, character, cue, stage directions, or script? And then you would put your answer down here. For number 2, it's this description here. Is this description dialogue, scene heading, character, cue, stage directions, or script? And then you would put your answer here. And then the same thing for 3, and the same thing for 4. And then we have this question. The conversation between Chris and Michaela is called what? And you would use one of these words from the word bank again. And same with this last question. What is the above document called? Next week we are going to be reading a play, so make sure that you know these terms and that you know what a script looks like.